Hello guys! Today I'm going to be doing a playthrough of Super Mario and the Crystal Crescents, which is a mod of New Super Mario Bros. 2 that I've been working on for 2 and a bit years, which is kind of ridiculous because it's also only a one-world mod. As you can see, the opening cutscene here isn't really that different. It does have a different background, and, well, I guess that's pretty much it, actually. There isn't even a custom music track for the opening cutscene here, because we didn't really pay attention to it during development. Though, speaking of which, one of my favorite aspects of this mod that you'll be seeing, or rather hearing throughout this playthrough, is the custom soundtrack made by Rimea Music. I'm really happy with how that turned out, and honestly, I think the only reason this mod ended up releasing was because he had put so much effort into the soundtrack that I wanted an excuse for him to be able to release it. So yeah, another very cool thing about this mod, obviously, is the custom world map here, which was made by Hus, and I'm very happy with how it turned out and how it's representative of every level. But yeah, let's get into 1-1 now. It is a bit odd how New Super Mario Bros. 2 doesn't have level names, because I feel like like level names contribute so much to a level's identity. I feel like that it feels a bit odd having this level just be 1-1, you know, that's it. But oh well, I do still feel like this level has a lot of identity with the custom graphics and stuff, and the custom background, and obviously also the amazing custom music. This is also basically one of the first New Super Mario Bros. 2 levels I ever made. So, for example, I don't think I really considered the fact that, like, this coin block you get there, like, there's no real section for you to be able to take that through. There's no, like, place for you to run around or anything like that. Instead, we have a bonus room here, so it's a bit weird. This bonus room changed a bit throughout development, but for the most part, it always had the idea of taking the Goomba Tower and trying to do something at least vaguely interesting with it, because I feel like the original game didn't really do anything that interesting with the Goomba Towers. There's a hidden 1-up here because, I mean, there are just hidden 1-ups all throughout this mod. I feel like, I guess the mod is slightly more difficult than the original game and than what people might expect. So therefore, I always like just hiding 1-ups all over the place to make sure people don't, like, game over or anything like that. Also, that there, I think, is, like, the only slightly New Super Mario Bros. 2, like, secret in the entire mod when it comes to just, like, spawning coins out of nowhere because the player, like, killed the Goomba Tower or something like that. So yeah, for the most part, I try to avoid the whole New Super Mario Bros. 2 coin thing. Also, if you look down there, you can actually see that the mushroom hill there is cutting off slightly, which looks a bit goofy, but I don't think it's, like, worth redesigning the background just to fix that. Here you can see that we actually have a custom P-Switch music theme, which is something that I don't feel like you tend to see in most New Super Mario Bros. Mods, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out as well. The midway has a purple pole, because why not? In general, there's a lot of stuff in this mod that's just sort of been arbitrarily recolored, like the brick blocks and, like, the Koopa shell as well. Also, there's another hidden 1-up here, because of course there is. It is interesting how the trails behind the shells, like the little color streaks, you can't, or at least I don't know how to recolor those in New Super Mario Bros. 2, so I had to stick to the sort of default Koopa colors for those, which is why the Koopas are still the same color. They're just, like, slightly desaturated, so that trail is still like consistent with the shell color. It is kind of cool what I did here with the piranha plant and the pipe going with the platform there. But for the most part, this level is definitely more of a generic 1-1 in terms of design, where like, there are some mechanics and stuff, but it is also very much just introductory to the whole, like, mods, and there isn't really anything in terms of, like, crazy mechanical setups in this level. I believe originally the section coming up here used to be in its own zone, but then I realized that there was no reason for it to be a separate zone, so now it's just all part of one big level area. Also, let's see if I can get this moon here without dying. It can be a bit tricky. There we go. Oh, well, at least I got the moon. Yeah, we also have the nice little course clear jingle there, which once again, like all of the music in this mod, was made by Rimea Music. I think I'll also link the soundtrack down in the description. Also, something that Who's did was make sure that the signboards here on the world map are actually retextured with the moon texture, so that's a nice detail. Okay, now for 1-2, which I think is probably my favorite level in the mod. Also, that's a nice little coin secret there. But yeah, just in general, I think I'm very happy with how this level turned out. Like how it's a cave level for the most part, but here we actually do introduce sort of the main gimmicks in more of this like overworld sort of style. Also, God, it took me a while to get that fire flower. Yeah, but I like that sort of having this introductory section here before we then move on to the underground stuff. Which, speaking of which, here we are. This tile set here, like the way the terrain looks, is basically ripped straight from Yoshi's New Island of all games, which is a bit weird because, like, I don't know, I don't really like Yoshi's New Island as a game, but I guess it has some cool graphic stuff like this tile set. And it did still take a lot of messing around to get it to look as good as it does, but yeah, it is interesting having a Yoshi tile set in this Mario mod. Also there, the challenge was to sort of dodge that spike ball and then go back for the moon. And if you don't do that, you at least still get some coins here, which I guess is fine. In general, I think just I really like the vibe of this level, like with the particles and the recolors and the mushrooms even, and obviously the tile set. It all just makes for a very unique atmosphere for a new Super Mario Bros. Level. Also, I really like this secret here where you get pushed up like that. I don't know, it's kind of charming in the way. The Mega Mushroom section here is also pretty cool. It also has a custom music track, by the way. Yeah, so if you don't recognize that, that's the same sort of jingle as the overworld theme, the same leitmotif. And that was once again made by Rimea specifically for this mod. So I'm very happy with that. There's something cool you can do with this this spike ball here, or well, I don't know if it's cool. It's kind of janky looking, but there we can push it up, and then it kind of clips through the mushroom as well, which I think that was all intentional. I just don't really know why I did it like that. I guess it's just kind of a random funny thing. Up here we're already at the midway. And I guess that sort of demonstrates that in general in this level there's a lot of like random verticality in sections where you'll suddenly start going up or down or left or right or whatever. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. Also this setup here where you push the spike ball up like that, I really like that. And it also sort of foreshadows something that happens later in the level where you have to do something a little bit more complicated along those same lines. In fact, here we are. So these brick blocks can obviously be broken by the spike ball here. So if I make the mushroom push it up, there we go. It clears a path for us. It also gets rid of the wiggler. That wiggler, the green recolor, I think was inspired by Super Mario Sunshine, I want to say, which also has green wigglers. I might be wrong about that. It's been a while since I did that. You can lead the spike ball all the way down here, which is like sort of an optional thing. And that allows it to destroy those brick blocks over there, which then allows us to go into this red pipe, which is obviously for a bonus room. This bonus room has a zoomed out camera, which is something that doesn't appear in the vanilla NSMB2, but it can be done with some like unused area settings. And the challenge here obviously is to get the spike ball to kill the wiggler, which allows us to get the third moon there. It is weird how, like, they're moons, they're not Crystal Crescents, but we did call the mod Super Mario and the Crystal Crescents, I think mostly because it sounds cool, I guess. But yeah, no, I think they're just moons. I don't refer to them as Crystal Crescents. But there we go, that's the end of 1-2. So I really like 1-2, and I think 1-3 is another one of my favorite levels in this mod. Which is also just because I think like I made the first 3 or 4 levels for this mod all within like a couple of weeks when I was really inspired, and then the later levels all sort of were like more so out of obligation basically. So in that way I feel like for these earlier levels I really made these because I had an idea for them and I was motivated to make them and stuff. And I still feel like that sort of shines through all these years later. But maybe that's just me, I don't know. We get to listen to some more of the bonus music here. This bonus room here actually used to be the second bonus room of the level, which I feel like you can still sort of tell because it's kind of a difficult setup getting through all of those amps like that. I mean, it's kind of trivial if you just know to sort of slowly walk through it, but I can imagine that it's a bit intimidating for first-time players. Also, the main mechanic of this level, I suppose, is tight ropes. So here you can just walk through that tight rope for another hidden one-up, because yeah, there are just loads of those throughout the mod. And I guess the secondary mechanic for the level is amps, and I feel like those pair together nicely. The whole like rotating amp thing isn't in New Super Mario Bros. U or Wonder, obviously, and tight ropes aren't either, so I guess that's sort of what made me want to use both of these mechanics in a level. Those coins down there are obviously to indicate something, so if we drop down like this, you can see there's a hidden vine, which actually leads us back through the amps we just went through, which is just a funny little like level design thing, bringing the player back and forth through the same obstacle multiple times. I feel like you can definitely tell that this bonus room used to be the earlier bonus room in the level, because it's way easier. But the reason they got swapped, I believe, is that that bonus room uses tight ropes, and the earlier bonus room doesn't, and at the point the earlier bonus room appears in the level, tight ropes hadn't been introduced yet. Oh, well, I wanted to say I just did that very smoothly, crouching under that amp, but then I messed it up, but oh well. Also, over to the right here, there was a bit of a weird sort of level design thing I ran into, which is that if you ground pound this question mark block, you'll see that the Tanuki leaf sort of clips into the wall, which is like, I guess it's okay, but actually that question mark block used to be one block further to the right, which meant that the Tanuki leaf was, like, it was impossible to get it, basically. So I ended up having to shift that over just because of that, and that only happens when you ground pound it, so it's weird. Also, I guess I didn't even really address the whole switching tight ropes thing there, but yeah, that's a mechanic. It's not in the original game, but it is something that you can just do using vanilla sprite settings, and I'm pretty happy with how that turned out, and it's something that will come back later in this level. Also, you might notice that just like 1-2, this level has a lot of like verticality and sort of the camera going all over the place. And that even used to go much further, because originally this section here also used to be a part of the other area. So it was all one big continuous section. But I ended up having to split those up because like some stuff was not loading properly or something like that. Here you can see we're spawning more tight ropes with switches, which is just like a fun little mechanic that you can only really do in New Super Mario Bros. 2, I believe. If we jump up here, there's another switch, which then actually deactivates this tight rope over here. And you can also just wait on that tight rope, and it's a very tight timing thing, but you can actually also dodge the amp and still fall through. But the more intentional way of doing that is with the switch. And there we go, this bonus room makes more use of the whole spawning tight ropes thing. And actually, if you do fall down here, as I'm trying to demonstrate, you don't die or anything. I just made it to where you end up at the goal pole. Okay, and now it's time to play the tower level, which I think is probably the most interesting level in the mod, or, well, at least it's the most unique. You'll see what I'm talking about. So at the start here, you'll see that we have 4 pipes to choose from. And no, this isn't pick a pipe. This is actually, we'll end up going through all of these pipes regardless. Though I'm actually going to go into the blue pipe first. And that's because I'm going to go through these sections from most boring to least boring, I think. So yeah, the blue pipe means that this is the underwater section, because water is blue or whatever. And I guess it also matches the P switch here. This level has 4 different sort of rooms, which each have a different like main theme and stuff. And this underwater one here is definitely the least interesting. Now that we're back here, you can see that we can no longer go into the blue pipe. So instead I'm going to go into the red pipe now, which is another slightly more boring section, honestly. This is this just has these circular saw blade mechanics, which are like fine, I guess, but I just feel like I didn't really end up doing that much with them that's like that interesting. I should mention, by the way, that I feel like it was around this level, when I was working on this level, that I started losing motivation to work on this project, basically, which is almost like close to halfway through the mod, so yeah, I think that's it's kind of telling. And I guess now we'll go into the green pipe, which has these moving blocks, which are, you know, very typical for New Super Mario Bros. 2 and DS. I feel like use these a lot, though originally, of course, they were brown. And I quite like what I did with this section, honestly. Like, it's obviously still just quite generic because it uses this mechanic that's so prevalent in the original game as well. But for example, I really like what I did with this moon here, where it's like sort of integrated into the level's obstacles, but it's like this own little thing, and it's like, it's slightly tricky to get, but it's also not that difficult. It kind of feels perfect, honestly. It is interesting, I guess, that this level doesn't have any bonus rooms. It's just these 4 main rooms and then the boss room. That's not usually how I design levels, though. Then again, I also don't usually design levels to have 4 different, like, complete sections with their own mechanics, basically. It's all pretty unique. Okay, and now for the yellow pipe, which is by far my favorite section. Even though it's not even, like, that difficult or that, like, mechanically interesting. Well, you'll see here, this setup where the blocks slowly disappear is just, I think it's very cool. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. Also, hello, Resnors. Yeah, those are a cool little tileset elements I made for this mod. I guess in general, I haven't really talked much about the custom tilesets in this mod. Those are all made by me, and they're mostly based on New Super Mario Bros. Wii style sets, because I didn't want to have to deal with the pre-compressed New Super Mario Bros. 2 tile sets. But yeah, now we're down here because we went through all the pipes, and there's of course the classic hidden fire flower, and now it's time for the boss fight. And yeah, it's just the vanilla Vesnor boss fight, because, I mean, this mod doesn't feature any custom code or anything like that, so I don't know why you would expect anything else. I do like how I managed to integrate these rainbow question mark blocks into the boss fight here as well. Makes it feel a little bit more special, though, I mean, for the most part, this entire zone is just straight up copied from the original game. Okay, and before we move on to 1-4, I did actually want to show that it is a bit strange how you can already unlock 1-A here before you even get to 1-4, because, I don't know, it just feels like that the level progression there doesn't really make a lot of sense. But yeah, here's 1-A, it's a poison desert level, we'll get to that later. So now it's time for 1-4. I mentioned earlier how the tower was sort of the level where I started losing motivation to work on this mod. But it was truly this level, if I remember correctly, where I started working on it, and then I just wasn't really feeling it. And I sort of just made, like, little sections of this level every couple of days for a few weeks there, because I just wasn't motivated to work on this at all. But that doesn't mean I, like, necessarily hate this level. It just, it feels a bit disjointed in some places, maybe, where, like, I have maybe one too many mechanics, and, yeah, it's just a bit all over the place. That was a very sneaky pipe cannon there, by the way, which leads us to this Paracupa bonus room here, which it's kind of weird, honestly, the way you can like still jump on the Paracupas after you're already through the semi-solid like that. For this level, I kind of tried to make the jumping Paracupas into like a proper level mechanic that like could support the entire level instead of just being a random like thing that Nintendo sometimes throws into their levels. Like here, the way this Paracupa is like sort of trapped, but you can hit it with the block. And I don't know if I really succeeded, but hey, at least I tried, I guess. But I guess the main mechanic for this level really is the POW blocks and the stretchy mushrooms. I do really like how I managed to trap this Paracupa here, and I do this a few more times throughout the level, where like it's like a perfect loop. Also here, if you grab this suspicious coin, you'll get the second moon, which is just such a random secret. I don't know why I decided upon that. It doesn't really make a lot of sense with the level's mechanics or anything like that, but you know, I made that decision years ago, and I've stuck to it since. It's I don't know why I did that, honestly. This jump here from this icy donut block onto the stretchy mushroom here can be quite tricky. And also this hammer bro here can be a complete pain, well, like I just demonstrated. Just the way he's on the stretchy mushroom, it's hard to predict all of those different types of movement and how they interact with each other. Here's another stuck Paracupa, I suppose, and we can actually probably kill him. There we go. And yeah, in general, I guess I just feel like the second half of this level gets sort of weirdly difficult. Like this here as well is kind of annoying, and then this Goomba here is a real pain sometimes if you don't hit them with the power block like I did. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of this level, to be honest. Here, if I hit that power block at the right time, we can get the Paracooper to go into his shell, which allows us to hit the power block there, and now we can go into this red pipe. You can also just jump on the Paracooper to get it into its shell, obviously. With the Tanuki suit, you can obviously just go through this wall here with the break blocks, but the intention of this section is that you ground pound on these power blocks to free yourself, and then you have to run before the bridge ahead of you gets destroyed, basically. You can also outrun the power block wave, by the way. Like, you can unload the power blocks to the point where the wave of destruction stops. And I've had that happen only once, so I didn't really think that was that big of a deal. It was kind of funny. At this point in the level, I feel like it kind of loses a bit of its magic, because like there's just really nothing going on here. And it basically ends in a whimper, because we just have this little this power block thing with the pipe here, and that's basically the end of the level. I mean, I guess there was also this funny power block setup here where the idea was that I would trick the player into hitting the power block, which would then get rid of the staircase that allows them to get the top of the flagpole here. I think it makes more sense to play 1-5 before 1-A, because I feel like that level is a bit easier. And here we are, 1-5, another level I'm not quite as happy with, I feel like. I think that's also partially because this level definitely has, like, the most vanilla level theme, except for maybe the tower, I guess, where it's just, like, basically generic lava. I didn't really, like, lean into the whole nighttime vibe for this level, and, yeah, I feel like that was kind of a mistake. I feel like I should have tried to do something more unique with this level. Instead, we have these fireball statues here, which do actually shoot a different type of fireball from what they do in the original game. Though it looks kind of similar. It also looks a bit strange, honestly, like how there's like no particles and no sound effect and stuff. But I think it just barely still works. Actually, here, if you wait here, you can see that the fireballs stop spawning in that bonus room, which is a bit strange, but I guess it's fine because at that point you would have already gotten the moon. Also, it is weird how I use wooden platforms in this level. There's lava, so shouldn't the wood burn? Though Hoos, who did a lot of the model stuff for this mod, did come up with the idea of making the crates here metal instead of wood. So it's just these platforms like below the checkpoint there, or right here, where it dips into the lava, which don't really make a lot of sense. But I guess Mario isn't really supposed to make sense. But yeah, I feel like my main problem with this level just comes down to, well, for one, the whole vibes thing I talked about, how it's not that unique. But also how these fireball statues here, they're not that mechanically interesting. They don't really interact with anything. They're just like a very generic obstacle. So for them to be like the level's main mechanic feels a bit underwhelming. Here you'll see a giant wave of lava right there, which just sort of happens because of how the, I don't know, like how the fluid interaction system works when the lava is going up and down for some reason. It doesn't make any sense, but okay. Also, the glowy eyes statues down there, those only spawn fireballs when you walk over them, basically. And I've been complaining about this level a lot, but I do actually really like this this last section here with the rising lava and stuff. Like, this is actually where I feel like the level gets more unique and mechanically interesting, with how the fireballs and the platform you're standing on here sort of like complement each other. I feel like this is a lot better than the main section of this level, basically. Though, on the other hand, I do also feel like this section is a lot of just jumping and waiting around and stuff, and there isn't, like, that much for the player to do. I should have maybe tried to, like, hide a moon in this section or something like that to make it more engaging to play, basically. Though this section here can be quite tricky, actually, dodging those fireballs like that. That can be, yeah, deceptively difficult, actually. And the idea here, I guess, is that we're coming out of a volcano. Also, to the left here is the goofiest moon in the entire mod. Just the way this whole setup works, I don't know, it looks so funny to me. It feels like such a Mario Maker contraption or something, you know, like it doesn't really work, but I guess it's fine. Okay, so before we continue on to the castle, of course there is still 1-A, which, like I mentioned, is a poison desert level, which is super strange. So originally the idea for this level was that it would be the like sort of special level after the castle. It was going to be like extra difficult and I don't know, just like, yeah, special, I guess. But I ended up making it a normal level instead with some very weird mechanics, like how here, if I don't just die, you have to lower the pokey by jumping onto this platform here, and then some coins appear and stuff. It's a strange setup. But it just barely still works, I suppose. In general, I do feel like this level has like some unique vibes and stuff, but I still don't fully like the theming. I feel like I had something more unique in mind, and I feel like in the end it just turned into like desert, but with purple glow, basically. Also, this is a bit annoying how this pokey lined up. Sometimes that pokey will be further to the right, and you can just get that without having to kill him, but oh well. And I do still feel like the level is a bit more difficult than an average level in this mod. Which, I mean, an average level in this mod is already relatively difficult. Like this setup here, for example. This is a bit tricky, I guess, sort of, maybe. Also, shoutouts to this midway here. I do really like the way that looks. It's funny. This here can be a bit tricky to pull off with how the cycles of the pokey and the swinging vine align, and if we go into this pipe here, you'll see that it's a pipe cannon, and the blocks above us actually move out of the way, which is just a very funny little thing I came up with. I'm not a huge fan of how this bonus room turned out, honestly. It's a bit lame. So over to the right here is maybe the hardest thing in the entire mod, especially if you don't have a fire flower. Just like this thing here where you have to wall jump, or you can just barely also jump over this pokey regardless, like that. But yeah, it can be really quite difficult, and it's weird how it's not the final thing in the level, instead it's like sort of around the middle. Later sections like this here, for example, aren't as difficult, so I guess there was no real way for me to make that earlier section easier, because I really wanted to have something like that, so it just kind of ends up making the difficulty curve of this level super strange. I'm pretty sure you actually can get to the bonus room here through that red pipe without having to kill this pokey. Though it's getting a bit close here, so let me just get rid of him regardless, oh well. I feel very similarly about this bonus room as I do about the first one in this level, which is that it just feels like a very like normal level section, basically. Like this diagonal platform is kind of cool, but it's also used in a normal level in the original game, so it doesn't feel that special. So yeah, I guess, I don't know, this level is a bit of a mixed bag in my opinion. This jump here used to be way more difficult, but I made it easier during playtesting because yeah, it was very difficult for no reason. It's also kind of blind, I guess. And then here we sort of repeat the same sort of section as earlier, but now it's downwards, so it's way easier. So yeah, this level just has a super strange difficulty curve. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Okay, and now there's only one level left for the mod, and that's the castle here, which definitely looks very unique, and you'll see very soon why that is, because yeah, this level has the, I guess you can call it the warp zone aesthetic from the original game, with the warp cannons and stuff, and I really like the way that turned out, honestly. Also, it has this very unique main mechanic with the mushrooms that when you jump on them, they disappear for a few seconds. And that, once again, it's not custom code or anything like that. That's just something that mushrooms allow you to do in this game for some reason. And it was never really used in the original game, so yeah, I was happy to use it in my level, I guess. It's hard to see, but you can actually jump down here, and then if you make the mushroom disappear, then you can go over to the right and into this bonus pipe here. And this bonus room has the other main mechanic for the level, I suppose, which is these exclamation mark burners. And getting this to all line up here is actually kind of tricky sometimes, but there we go. And over here you'll see that there's actually an exclamation mark made out of blocks in the wall here to sort of reference that as a mechanic for this level. And over here is another hidden one-up, of course, because why not? It wouldn't be a Rimea level without one. And now we have some burner stuff, which I do feel like maybe my main complaint with this level is that the burner stuff isn't really integrated that nicely. It's just sort of there. And I mean, I do use the burners in combination with the mushrooms sometimes, but it still feels a bit lame compared to the disappearing mushrooms. Like this section here, this is very cool with the Goomba generator and the bouncy mushrooms disappearing below you. Yeah, I just really like that. And for the second half of the level here, I introduced these grey mushrooms, which when you jump on them actually spawn another mushroom instead of despawning them, which is, yeah, just a nice twist. I think originally I wanted those mushrooms to also have exclamation marks on them, just like the burners, but that looks very strange. Also, that second moon there is a bit mean, honestly. This here is very cool, the mushroom elevator, basically. Also, if you jump on the last one, it will go back to the start down below, so there's no way for you to get like stuck or anything like that. And yeah, here's another lame burner section where it's just some burner stuff. Just like have fun ground pounding these burners. There's no real point to it. It's not interesting. It's just kind of there. This last section here, oh right, there's a bonus room we gotta go through first. And this is another one of those giant zoomed out bonus rooms, which feels a bit cursed in New Super Mario Bros. 2. And also there's another hidden 1-up, amazing. But yeah, the challenge here is just to ground pound like that, so you can get through the mushrooms, and yeah, it's a pretty simple setup, but it can be really quite tricky. I've seen some playtesters really struggle with that, so I'm quite happy with that as the last collectible for the mod here, basically. In general, this last section here can be very difficult, because just like the way New Super Mario Bros. 2's camera is and stuff, it's hard to tell where some of the mushrooms are sometimes. And yeah, this here especially is just a very tricky sort of puzzle. But there we go. So now all that's left is the custom boss fight. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so at the end of this hallway here, we have Vanilla Roy. Wow. Yeah, so yeah, there's no custom boss fight. I don't know if anyone was expecting one at this point. I mean, the same also goes for like the Vesnors, obviously. So yeah, I mean, I still took damage from Vanilla Roy, so maybe he's a maybe no custom boss fight was required after all. But yeah, I don't know. There wasn't really much I could do about this. You can't put the final Bowser fight in this level slot. So yeah, this is a very anticlimactic way of ending the mod, but it was kind of out of my control. Towards the end of development, there was some talk of maybe making this key a golden moon instead, but I guess with the way like Mario holds it in his hands and stuff, that would have looked weird. So no custom stuff here. It's just all vanilla. Well, except for the tile set and the background, obviously. Also, bye Iggy and Peach. Well, we'll never see you again. That's a sort of unresolved plot line there. Yep, there they go, never to be seen again. Whoop, yep, so the camera sort of glitches out there because the cutscene for the Koopaling kidnapping Peach is supposed to play there, but it doesn't, so that's what happens instead. But yeah, here we have this sort of semi-custom world map with only one level left, which is actually the credits. I guess I should really thank all of the people on screen here. They helped a tremendous amount. Especially Rimea Music, because it was really because of him working so much on the soundtrack that I ended up having the motivation to finish this mod after so many years. And also, obviously, apart from him, like all the other people, especially Hoos, who made the amazing custom world map, and Dr. Tricky, who spent hours importing all of the custom music that Rimea made. But yeah, I guess that's the end of the mod, and also the end of this video, guys. So if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and maybe consider becoming a channel member or joining my Discord server or whatever. Thank you guys so much for watching, see you later, and bye bye.